Hello, Team Basecamp. Hey, Coach Tim here with today's review of our Return to Training Power Ramp workout. Excellent workout. I've picked Dana here. Dana had some really great points about getting over her fears of resting. So, one of the reasons we do a Return to Training workout, why everyone should do one, by the way, is a lot of times you take a couple of days off. And then you, after 3 days off, 2 days off, even 4 days off, you come back to training, and the next 1, 2, or 3 days, the first 2 or 3 days you get rolling again, you're like, oh my God, I don't feel great. I've lost all my fitness. And over time, we keep convincing ourselves, oh, the rest, I lose fitness. We associate those not great feelings with a loss of fitness. And that gives us negative connotation on how we see resting. Resting is when you get stronger. Training is breaking things down. Resting is when they rebuild to a new, higher homeostasis. That's what we want. That's the good stuff. So let's talk a little bit about this return to training. She nailed it, did great. We're going to dig in. You can see she got had all the correct targets. Everything worked well. That's good. I'm going to do a very quick review. Why do we feel bad when we return to training? Well, there's really three quick, and I talked about it in this ride. So, but if others watch, just this idea that you need a neuromuscular readjustment. Like literally in a day or two, your body, the pathways, the way your brain talks to your muscles, it settles down. They're not as sensitive and coordinated. We just need to re-coordinate that so the muscles don't feel as good. You actually lose some muscle suppleness, and just getting on and spinning and everything, you're rebuilding that back. You need to give that a little time. That combination tends to make you feel muscularly not good until you do a little work, 1 to 3 workouts. You have some cardiovascular adjustments. You do lose a tiny bit of plasma volume, but the reality is your heart, because it hasn't been stretching as much, beating harder on a regular basis, just loses. It gets fresher, it recovers, but it loses a tiny bit of elasticity. That's an oversimplification. And it just takes a workout or two to get it to stretch better again and then have a higher pump stroke volume so it doesn't need to beat as high. And you're going to notice for pretty much everyone today, your heart rate was a little higher than normal today. That's a good indicator. It means your heart has rested. Your cardiovascular system has rested. Oversimplification again, but you get the point. And finally, in the main driver is you have a hormonal change. Your cortisol, your hormonal and enzyme, cortisol, adrenaline, how you deal with insulin and insulin production and all that's, it's used to work every day like a high demand. And then you kind of pull the chair out from underneath it, pull the carpet out from underneath it. And in a couple of days, you have a biochemical change going on in your body. Now, the downside is that's the one that responds. It's the messaging signal. Like you talk about your brain talking to your muscle, that's electrical. So it's fast. And if we do that a couple of times, we start turning things on. Your endocrine system is biochemical, it's chemical. The messaging system is chemical, hormones, enzymes, things like that. Again, oversimplification. But that means that takes a day or two to get the chemistry changing and everything moving. So that's the one that kind of tends to linger for the first anywhere from 1 to 4 days till your body re-upregulates. I don't know, I'm making up words, until that right hormonal balance is back and achieved. None of those mean you lost fitness. It's just the application. It's the impact of very important, a vital rest. And you'll see it'll go away in 1 to 4 days. And normally 1 to 2 days is the norm. Depends exactly how much you're training and how fit you are, but could be as many as 1 to 4 days. And then, hey, I'm feeling pretty good now. Now I'm feeling all that fitness from those first 8 weeks of training. That's the lesson. Quick review. We did our fast pedals great. We did 3 times 3 minutes of ramps. Why do we use ramps here? Because when we return to training, we also don't want to shock the system with a whole bunch of sudden intensity of just 3 hard minutes. We make a bunch of lactate. We get very acidic. We're spinning off hydrogen atoms. We need to talk about that someday, by the way, because that's the burning feeling you feel. We're producing a whole bunch of CO2. We're just flooding the system, and that rings the alarm bells of returning to training even higher. So we use a ramping intensity to just ease the body in. We do want to set off those alarm bells, but maybe not like all in the first 5 seconds of each effort. We want to just gently turn them on a little stronger, turn them on a little stronger, recover. And that's what we're doing here. Then we go and we use tempo as a secondary return to training impact opener, get ready kind of deal. And why do we use tempo? Because tempo power, this moderate in-between power below FTP, still aerobic, but slightly more intensive, and it's harder. We're using a little more force cadence relationship to make that. It's an excellent system to work through the recruitment of muscular motor units. So we recruit more motor units as that 10-minute plugs on. That's turning on that neuromuscular coordination and how your brain talks to your muscles and your muscles talk back to your brain, and just realigning everything and getting it back in. So when we look at each of these phases, we can use heart rate. This is, again, somebody asked in this morning's ride, well, what should I be targeting these as heart rate? Do not target by heart rate. I can't say this enough. If you would target today by heart rate, your heart rate was probably higher only because you've been resting. So you would have done a lot less power, and you would extend the number of days it takes you to get back into the training rhythm. This is why we use power. A watt is a watt, no matter what we do. Heart rate is subject to a lot of variables. But we can use heart rate to understand what's happening when we apply power. Remember, the external stress to the system. We see Dana did a great job of using incline mode. Everybody is so mastered incline mode. I'm so stoked by that. And she's just doesn't have to be perfect little squares as she ramps. She's just picking up the power going through the ramp. Great. You're doing it exactly as it, but look, her heart rate is tracking right with it, responding. That's a little hyper responsive. Normally you would see like a longer delay, meaning the red uptick, you can almost move that to the right. But I love seeing in return to training those first couple of days that the heart rate really tracks with power, because it tells me your heart is fresh enough that it does respond, that it's rested. It's a muscle. It's like anything else, and it's ready to go. So I love seeing that heart rate and power track neatly. We see a quick drop down and return. We see this in each one of the intervals. So the stress strain relationship I'm looking for there in return to training is awesome. In this 10 minutes, in this 10-minute tempo, I see another great thing. It looks like her heart rate's going up, but look, she's feeling better. Her power's just going up. I bet you in that phase, and I talked about 40 minutes today. It usually takes us about 40 minutes into that first workout before it all starts coming together. She's feeling better. Look at her power to heart rate. It's a -4. So she's not really straining. Her heart rate itself looks like it still kind of came up, but nothing like in here. She's settling in. She has a negative power to heart rate. In that case, a pretty big one. You might have positive or negative. You don't know where you are in that return to training status, that up regulation, back to ready training. But take a look at your tempo and look for a good time. That's review today. Next week, I'm going to start going back to WKO, more advanced reviews. There just wasn't anything advanced to look at here. We will talk to you soon. Thanks.